How can a material made of glass fibers thinner than a human hair become a reinforcement capable of replacing steel in bridges, tunnels, and large structures? At first glance, they seem light and fragile, but fiberglass rods hide a process of high precision, advanced chemistry, and extreme control. In this video, we will explore how thousands of almost invisible filaments transform into strong, durable, and corrosion-free bars, designed to support the weight of the future. The manufacturing process of fiberglass rods begins in the raw material feeding system, known as the creel. This is a metal structure designed to hold and organize the spools containing the fiberglass. Depending on the line's capacity and the diameter of the rod to be produced, this system can accommodate anywhere from hundreds to over 1,000 spools, arranged in an orderly fashion to ensure a continuous supply. Each spool contains roving, which consists of continuous bundles of untwisted fiberglass filaments that serve as the main reinforcement of the final product. The most commonly used fibers are E-glass, which is common in general applications, and SR glass, specifically developed to withstand alkaline environments such as concrete. These filaments are obtained by melting glass at temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius and passing it through micro-holes that generate fibers between 10 and 20 microns in diameter, much finer than a human hair. Before starting the line, operators check that the spools rotate without friction, that the unwinding tension is uniform, and that the surface of the filaments is compatible with the resin that will be used in subsequent stages. Once the spools begin releasing the fiberglass filaments, each thread must follow a precise and perfectly controlled path toward the forming area. This stage is critical, as any disorder, crossing, or deviation between the filaments could result in internal defects that affect the strength of the final product. To maintain order, the material passes through guiding systems composed of metal combs and ceramic rings, designed to separate, align, and keep thousands of filaments parallel simultaneously. These components are made of wear-resistant materials and have carefully defined spacings to reduce friction and prevent breakage. The correct formation of the bundle requires that there are no twists or excessive contact points. Therefore, technicians continuously monitor parameters such as entry height, passage angle, and the cleanliness of the guides. Even very small particles or imperfections on the surfaces can cut the filaments, creating weak spots. To prevent this, constant visual inspections are conducted, and detection systems are used to immediately alert to any breakage. Preventive maintenance of the guiding systems includes periodic cleaning with appropriate solvents and the application of special lubricants that reduce the coefficient of friction without contaminating the fiber. These lubricants must be compatible with the resins that will be used later. Before the fibers move to the next stage of the process, it is essential that all the filaments are subjected to similar traction forces, which is achieved through the tensioning system. The homogeneous tensioning of the filaments represents one of the most critical stages in the manufacturing process. Each production line incorporates braking systems or electromagnetic clutches that individually or in groups regulate the traction force applied to the filaments. The function of these devices is seemingly simple, but their impact on the final quality is decisive, ensuring that all filaments work in balance during the process. A filament with insufficient tension tends to form waves or bend, creating areas with lower reinforcement density in the cross-section. On the other hand, a filament with excessive tension can stretch beyond its elastic limit or even break during the process. Both situations create heterogeneities in the reinforcement distribution, generating weak points or areas of stress concentration in the finished rod. To maintain precise control of this variable, modern lines incorporate tension sensors and load cells that continuously measure the force applied to specific filament groups. Typical tension values are maintained within a range of 5 to 30 newtons per filament, although this parameter may vary depending on the specific product design, the type of fiber used, and the line speed. Automated control systems continuously compare the measured values with the established parameters. When a deviation beyond the tolerance limits is detected, the system issues visual and audible alerts that allow the operator to make corrective adjustments without needing to stop production. In some cases, more advanced systems make automatic corrections through servo motors that adjust braking pressure in real time. Once the filaments are properly aligned and tensioned, the complete bundle passes through preforming nozzles. These parts, typically made of polished ceramic or metallic materials, have internal profiles that gradually compact the bundle of filaments to bring it closer to the nominal diameter required for the final product. This process, technically known as dry consolidation, allows the fiber bundle to stabilize without yet applying resin. The gradual compaction prevents sharp deformations that could damage individual filaments. Additional roller systems, placed before and after the preforming nozzles, help eliminate lateral vibrations and ensure that the bundle's cross-section is circular and uniform before entering the impregnation zone. Resin impregnation represents the transformation of the dry filament bundle into a cohesive structure with defined mechanical properties. Thousands of previously aligned and tensioned filaments pass through an impregnation tank or a closed chamber where they come into close contact with the liquid resin. This polymeric component acts as a matrix or binder, serving multiple functions. It binds the individual filaments into a monolithic structure, transfers loads between fibers, protects the reinforcement from the aggressive environment, and defines properties such as transverse tensile strength, compressive strength, and the long-term behavior of the composite material. The most commonly used resins in the production of fiberglass rods are unsaturated polyester and vinyl ester resins for general use applications. These resins offer a suitable balance between cost, ease of processing, and mechanical properties. For applications requiring superior chemical resistance, higher fatigue resistance, or better behavior at elevated temperatures, epoxy resins are used, though their cost is considerably higher. Before impregnation, the resin formulation is adjusted by adding various functional additives. Pigments are added for visual identification of the product by diameter or specification. Ultraviolet radiation inhibitors protect the material during outdoor storage. Flame retardants are used when required by regulations, and adhesion promoters enhance the interfacial compatibility between the resin and the concrete in the final application. During the impregnation process, critical parameters are controlled, such as the resin temperature, which directly influences its viscosity, and the residence time of the material in the bath zone. The viscosity is typically maintained in a range of 300 to 1000 centipoises, allowing the resin to penetrate adequately between the filaments without generating excessive drips that waste material or cause cleaning issues in the line. After complete impregnation, the material moves to a dosing stage where excess surface resin is removed. The goal is to achieve a balanced ratio between the reinforcement fiber and the polymer matrix, a ratio that largely determines the final mechanical properties of the product. This stage is performed using dosing rollers that apply controlled pressure on the impregnated material or calibrated nozzles that gently squeeze the bundle while maintaining its cylindrical shape. The design of these systems aims to achieve uniform resin distribution around each filament without creating areas rich or poor in matrix. The volumetric fraction of fiber in the final product is typically maintained between 65 and 75%, depending on the specific structural design and required properties. Excessive resin content results in a material with lower stiffness and strength, as well as an unnecessary increase in cost. The central element of the pultrusion process is the heated die, a high-precision metal mold where the final shape of the rod is defined. This component, typically made of hardened steel and polished on the inside, has a channel whose geometry exactly matches the diameter and profile required for the finished product. As the bundle of resin-impregnated fibers moves through the die, several processes occur simultaneously. The pressure generated by the continuous pull compacts the fibers, reduces internal voids, and expels excess resin. At the same time, the applied heat initiates gelation, which is the beginning of the chemical curing of the resin. The die operates under strictly controlled thermal conditions, typically between 80 and 120 degrees Celsius, although these values are adjusted depending on the type of resin and its curing system. In some designs, the die incorporates zones with differentiated temperatures that allow for a gradual transition from the liquid to the gelled state. At the die exit, the pre-curing stage begins, where the resin has gained enough consistency to maintain the rod shape without deformation, although it has not yet reached its final strength. At this point, continuous visual inspections are performed to detect surface defects, color variations, or dimensional deviations. While the rod is still hot, the necessary surface texturing for proper adhesion to concrete is generated. Since fiberglass rods do not naturally develop ribs, A helical ribbing is applied using a rotary head that wraps an additional resin-impregnated fiber cord around the surface. This texture increases the contact surface and improves stress transfer. In many lines, this process is complemented by sandblasting the surface, where silica particles adhere to the still fresh resin, increasing the microscopic roughness and friction with the concrete. The rod then enters the final curing oven, composed of tunnels with multiple temperature-controlled zones. There, the resin completes its polymerization through the cross-linking of its molecular chains, acquiring its final mechanical properties. The line speed determines the residence time in the oven, adjusted according to the diameter and type of resin. After curing, the rod is gradually cooled to avoid internal stresses. Finally, a flying saw performs continuous cutting at the programmed lengths without stopping production. The resulting rods undergo a final inspection, are grouped by diameter and length, and are marked with traceability data such as resin type, batch, date, and manufacturing plant. Packaging is done using strapping, separators, and protective films. Thanks to their low weight, these rods allow for the transport of more meters per trip than steel, reducing logistical costs and associated emissions.